Thank you guys for joining me today. We are meeting with Allison Wienhold of Clases Locas for this week's edition of Fun Activities in Five, maybe longer than five, because we've got a lot to talk about with music brackets today. Hi, Allison. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're so glad you're here. We're stoked. So we're going to chat about music brackets today. I feel like you're our expert in music brackets. So what are these music brackets? What's the deal?
Okay, so it kind of goes back to my first time ever. Basically, a music bracket is a tournament. Think about March Madness. You have different teams playing against each other. And back in 2014 is when I first heard about them. I did not create them. I would say Justin from Spanish Plans is the first person who made them. I learned about them from Dustin Williamson and Bethany Drew, who posted a bracket in 14. I drew it on my chalkboard in my classroom, and we just listened to two songs each day, and just whoever had the most votes moved on. And my students loved it. And so it became a regular tradition, and I started creating my own brackets after that. So in 15, and have
Awesome.
been ever
That
since.
feels like so long ago
It
that
does.
I was not even in the classroom in
I
2014.
know it really
I was in
shows.
a different classroom in 2014.
Yes,
Awesome. So you have quite a bit, is that like over 10 years, 12 years,
it is.
working with these brackets?
Hmm.
And so it sounds like in the beginning, and I don't know if now it's changed, but in the beginning, you would listen to the song, they would vote on the song, and then you would just go back to your normal class.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's what's great about it is most of the time I've used them just as a bell ringer brain break, a small part, not as the core content of the class, where this is something fun. Uh, I'm in Iowa and March is typically still dreary. You want it to be spring, so you just need something fun, spice it up. And so the idea that you can use it as just a tiny amount of time, as small as you want, where you're just listening to two songs, deciding who vote, move on. Some teachers go expanded and they make it its whole own mini unit. So they do activities with every song and spend a lot more time with it. But I know most people don't have that flexibility. So I think that's what's really great is it's something you can do to just infuse a little bit of fun and something different students look forward to. But you can still continue your typical curriculum if that is what you need to do.
Perfect. So we're looking at something that's very flexible in what you put into it and what you get out of it. And if all you want is some fun songs for 4 or 5 minutes, then you've got it. And if you want to go super in depth, then you have that too.
Absolutely. And I found the most success just using it more of a class starter. So a song is playing as students walk in, and then restart it when the class, you can introduce the song. And I think you can do more the first time students hear a song because in a typical bracket fashion that you will, and I think that's a question people have too, is I use the same songs the whole time. So I pick 16 songs and those songs will continue on. And that's part of the fun. Students loved the song the first time. And so they get to hear it again when it comes back around in the next round. And that's when you can change how much you do. Some teachers just have the songs posted and the students vote, but or maybe just you're playing just a snippet. Some teachers do it where the first time they only hear the audio and the second round, then they see the video and then they do more activities. I like using the video from the beginning because to me, the video is where the culture rich, authentic learning about people and places and cultures is embedded. And so I always want to pick videos, songs that have videos you can show in class. I know some people prefer to use lyrics videos, but I don't think that has the same cultural impact as seeing a culture rich, appropriate video.
Sure. So I love that you brought appropriate in.
Hmm.
You and I at least grew up when MTV was still a thing, and we
Yeah.
know that not every music video is appropriate. And just like not every song might not be school appropriate. Um, how do you balance that between obviously teaching a sixth grader is very different than teaching a 12th grader and what's appropriate and what you can show? Like, do you kind of make that decision of this is appropriate, or do you get parent permission, or how does that work?
I think overall, I think it's important to think about that each teacher is the expert on their exact situation and classroom, and you need to make that call. You know that your culture and your school is so different from anyone else's. And what I did, my experience has typically been with secondary Spanish, mostly high school, some middle school. And so what I showed my first years teaching with high schoolers is not something I would show today. And it just depends on, yeah, there's so many factors that go into things. And so I would say I have erred on being more appropriate now. And how I create my music brackets is I put out a Google form to my audience and teachers suggest songs for it. And typically, um, I now actually create two each year. And for that exact reason, I create what I call my high school bracket. And they're still all appropriate, but there's a different level. And then I also create a young bracket. And the young bracket is what I would say my super clean, appropriate. Most teachers use it for middle school, some even for upper elementary, or for very conservative high school. I have teachers who've used that bracket and they say, I teach at a private Christian high school and I can't even include themes of dating or things. And so it's just different types of songs that are they're in Spanish, but really, really appropriate. No swear words, no bar scenes. Whereas the high school version maybe is, what you would see on TV at 7 o'clock on a normal day. But still, once again, you're the expert.
Oh, for sure. And I think that it's really important to remind teachers that they have that decision of
Mhm.
maybe you feel okay using the lyrics because your students aren't reading them or they're never going to look them up and like that's okay, but you don't show the video and giving teachers that reminder of you know your kids and your families and your school and you're ultimately the one that's going to have to deal with the consequences
Yep.
if there are any. Love that. So you mentioned that you'd make two brackets each year for the
Mhm.
spring for younger or more appropriate audiences, and then a just normal, not, we're not going to call it inappropriate, but just a more
No, it's
normal,
just high school.
yeah, it's more of that PG-13
Yeah.
than G rated, I
Yeah.
guess. So I feel like I've seen you do some brackets at other times of the year, like around Hispanic Heritage Month.
Yes.
How do you, I guess, decide what goes where aside from asking people?
Mhm.
Because obviously we're listening to Spanish songs no matter when it's happening. How do you pick that focus, or is it just what's popular at the time?
And so my March brackets I've been doing longer, but in 2016, I actually came up with the idea of I realized that the March brackets tend to focus, it seems like on similar, like the popular places, because those are all songs within the last year, typically, that I put in. And I realized there just seemed to be lacking some representation, so I came up with the idea of creating a one song from each Spanish speaking class slides. It originally just started as one song. My original idea was to just play one song from each Spanish speaking country for each day of Hispanic Heritage Month, starting in September 15th. But my friend Sarah actually said, "Hey, I turned that into a bracket." So the next year, then I used it as a bracket myself, so it's not symmetrical because it's 22 songs. So you have some weird play in things. But I really love that bracket as a fall option because it does show the diversity. It intentionally includes songs that you wouldn't always hear. So they're not always current because and that one I also get teachers to help me with because I'm not an expert on music from El Salvador or some different places that aren't historically the big music producers. It's easy to get songs from Colombia and Cuba and places that really produce a lot of singers, but it's hard to get from other places. And I get mixed reviews too because people are like, oh, well, this one isn't as engaging. It's not as poppy, but I'm like, that's the point. It's showing diverse genres, it's showing diverse people. And so I actually love that bracket more. It takes way more work to put together to find songs from each country that are. And now also, since I've had 10 different versions, that I don't want to repeat any songs that have been in any previous brackets. So that's a whole different um, thing. But I think the students loved doing both, having two different brackets in a year. It also works if you teach, for example, on a semester block that way, or an exploratory class. Each group will get some kind of bracket, but maybe it'll be different.
I love that. That is within the past probably 2 years, that's something I've really made an effort to just our
Mhm.
kids know that Mexico exists.
Mhm.
And I don't know about in Iowa, but most of the kids out here in Colorado think Mexico is the center of the universe of the Spanish
Mhm.
speaking world. They don't know that many of these other places exist or where they are or anything about them. So to give them even just 3 minutes of insight is huge. And I know that a lot of Spanish teachers really struggle because we love the places that we love,
Mhm.
to branch out of the places that we're so attached to because we know them and we're comfortable with them. And it's hard to feel like we're giving information to students that we're not an expert on.
Yep.
But we have to expose them to everything. We can't have kids leaving Spanish 3 or 4 and thinking Mexico is the only Spanish speaking country. So when you do that, when you're introducing, and this might kind of segue a little bit into some other things that I know that you're a little bit of an expert on, do you show kids where these countries are? Or when you do the like El Salvador or Guinea
Mhm.
Equatorial, like are you showing kids, hey, by the way, this country's in Africa?
Yep. And so the slides that I make always have maps on them right there. And so that's a part of, and I think that's an important thing is you can practice that vocabulary of the name of the country, the nationality, the capital, but then also showing where they are. And you could definitely go deeper, like Ben Tinsley does, map talk style. And you could do an entire lesson if you wanted about each song and each place. And, you could go in depth. Um, if you had that opportunity to be able to. But yes, for sure, making sure to and introduce those different places and where they're at and all of the different things that you could then connect. See if you have students who have a connection. Have they been there? Do they know someone from these different places? And so that's a really great way to build connections and show, yes, the entire Spanish speaking world and not just focusing on where your students are from, where your favorite places are.
Right. Do you have have you ever had a situation come up where you're doing these brackets in your class and or a lot, I guess, of students latch onto something that you were just never expecting? That there's just this song that all of a sudden you're like, you know what, wasn't even going to put that in there, but like, wow, you guys, like, how do you have any fun stories for us of like how this has just changed kids?
Absolutely. I think this is different too. Since I'd started doing brackets, there are some bigger groups who do brackets and they vote globally. And so I have never done the global voting, mostly because in March, most schools in Iowa have a spring break for sometimes a week, which is literally exactly when the global voting takes place. And because I always do it also where all of my classes vote as one unit. And so this is a entire thing, literal tally on the board. Sometimes it could be Google Form if you're virtual or things, but the tally on the board means that then students from first hour are running in, looking at the board, and then campaigning for their song and trying to convince the freshmen that this is the song that has to win. And they do latch on and they find these artists or these people and suddenly songs that you wouldn't have expected your school to now as a whole is invested in this. And I think that the community as a whole, so as a department of one, I was teaching Spanish 1 through 4, and all of these levels are listening to the same songs on the same day. And I think that's beautiful that then at basketball practice, they're adding that to the warm-up playlist or track or whenever, because they've all heard this same song today and the beauty also of the fact that when songs move on, so they are listening to the same song then a couple days later and a couple days later. And that repetition is important. And it's great to value that this group as a whole, that this is the favorite song. But then also there are the heartbreaks when the favorite song loses. But always remind them that either way, you can add it to your playlist. And really, that's a win-win for all.
Yes, they do exist outside of this classroom and you can
Yeah.
still enjoy them. We did that a couple of years ago. We had a favorite and it went all the way. And then in the end, one class was just determined to never hear it again
Yeah.
and just broke the streak and kids were just so sad. Oh. And I'm like, guys, the internet is a thing. It exists. You
Mhm.
can find this on your own. I love that. Um, do you have any advice for a teacher that maybe is saying, I've never done the music thing, or maybe music's not my thing, or I don't know if I can facilitate this. Like, what would you tell a teacher that is maybe on the edge of saying, I could be persuaded to try this? how would you convince them to give this a go?
I would recommend just the engagement. If it's something maybe you haven't done before, I think you're missing such a huge opportunity. I had so many students who straight out told me to my face, they're like, I don't really like Spanish class, but I love the music. Like, I come running for the music. And so having a focused time, I usually do classroom routines. So we do a song on Wednesday or we do a dance on Friday, but having a and we're doing, usually when we do a music bracket, we're doing this every day. So for a 16 song bracket, that would be 15 days. And so you have 3 weeks every day where students walk in and they know they get to listen to a song. You could also do it as a brain break, especially if you teach a block class. That's a great way to put it in the middle. I know some teachers do that. I wouldn't save it till the end because then you'll never get to it, and that breaks hearts. So you got to start with it. You have to. It gets the engagement and the students who, once again, they different kids latch on to different things, and music is such a powerful thing for so many people and a motivator and that thing that they can continue with outside of class. And I think that is huge to be able to expand and use their Spanish outside of class.
I love that. We love helping kids find things that they want to engage with because as I'm sure you are very familiar, you just can't force kids to do things
Hmm.
they don't want to do. And if they want to do them, or if they're a music kid and they don't like reading or they hate school or whatever, like giving them that one thing could be the thing that keeps them in Spanish or in whatever language
Hmm.
they're doing. And we need that because we need job security as well to keep these kids around. Um, this has been so fun. Do you have any
Yes.
other last minute quick things that we want to tell people about music brackets that we have left out or to campaign to get teachers on this board to do a music bracket? What are your last things for people?
I guess if you are on the fence, I think one of the biggest things too is you don't have to create it yourself. I have ready to go resources that are already created, as I mentioned, like a high school level and also more of a young appropriate bracket that already have slides all ready to go with Google Forms so you can vote if that's your choice, with printable brackets so you can print brackets or a digital bracket. So if you're more of a show, so that way everyone can follow along and see who wins. Um, and I think just try it. And that's the biggest thing is you can always try something and then decide it's not for you, but there is beauty in telling the students like we're trying something new and I'm not sure how it's going to go and be authentic with the fact that as a group we're going to try something and likely they will enjoy it. And I think the beauty of a self-paced bracket is that you aren't tied to someone else's schedule. You can start it right now. You could start it today if you need something to spice up your dreary winter, or you can wait. I know teachers do it in May after AP testing. That's when they have more time. Maybe after other testing. Or maybe they teach on an every other day block or a different kind of schedule. They only see their students 2 days a week. And so I have friends who use a bracket and it takes them an entire semester because they don't see their students as much. So I think that's the beauty of a self-paced bracket that you can use it however it works for you. You don't have the time to dedicate 15 days in a row. You can just do it as a weekly routine and you do it once a week as well.
I love that. That is the time constraint has been a reason that I have not done a lot of the like everybody is doing something right
Hmm.
now because spring break or in Colorado it's blizzarding in March
Yep.
and like you don't have school and kids get disappointed and then it stresses the teacher out because you're like, wait, now I have to totally change the plans and things to get caught up and it takes the fun out of it.
Yep.
So I love the idea of just telling teachers, you know what, you don't have to wait till March. You don't have to wait till September. You can do it whenever you want to do it and just
Yep.
do it at your own pace. If that's one day a week instead of every day, then do that. Like
Hmm.
do whatever works for you.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, it has been so lovely chatting
Yes.
with you as always. We will drop in the description of this video some links for people, some blog posts and links that they can find these brackets and all the other things to help them out for people who want some more information. And we will see each other in June. So we'll give a little
Yes.
shout out to Comprehensible Iowa for June the
Yes.
12th and 13th, 13th, 14th.
Yes. Ooh, now I need to know. It's the Friday and Saturday. I think it's 12th and 13th on the spot in Des Moines, Iowa. You should come hang out. It's small, learn about comprehensible input strategies, actually connect with people, sit down. It's going to be amazing. Justin Slocum Bailey's the keynote. We'll have workshops from Carrie Toth, Christy Placido, Justin. It'll be great, and you should come hang out with us.
It's gonna be so fun. I'm so excited to be back. This is my first summer back in a few years,
Yes.
because we've been traveling with kids, and I never thought I'd be excited to not travel in the summer, but we're traveling to Iowa this summer for Comprehensible Iowa. So
Yeah.
hopefully we'll see all the people watching this there.
Just
Well,
look.
thank you. Go ahead, go ahead.
I say June 12th and 13th, so I don't
12th and
mess it up.
13th,
June
June 12th and
12th and
13th,
13th,
Des
Friday,
Moines,
Saturday, Des Moines,
Iowa.
Iowa.
And you don't even have to drive very far because that's where the airport is, right?
Yeah, yeah, there's an airport in Des Moines. Yep.
Yeah, perfect. So super close. So come hang out with me and Allison this summer.
Yes.
And lots of other really cool people too. It is, if you've never done a conference or if you're afraid of conferences, this is not the conference to be afraid of. It is totally just down to earth people that want to be your friend and help you and hang out. It
100%.
is not the like big production of companies and all the things. It's great. So highly recommend. Um,
Yay. Thank you so much.
well, thank you, Allison. We will see you soon.
Yes. Thank you so much.